Bill Belichick, when he was announced as the next head coach at North Carolina, I wasn't sure what to expect. And I was fascinated to see what it was going to look like on the recruiting trail, right? We're talking about a 6-time Super Bowl winning coach who has spent a good chunk of his career on the professional side of things. He jumps into college football recruiting in a time where there are so many moving parts, right? Scholarship changes, players getting paid, all that stuff going on. Just what did you think it was going to look like? Because I've been impressed with what North Carolina has been able to do in his first month or so on the job.
I honestly was the same. I thought, okay, some people are going to flock and want to play for the GOAT. And then some people are like, I don't really know how long he's going to be here. So, but I will say, like, it's been pretty wild to try in a world, in a time where there's so many me first personnel people that are like, hey, show me some love and I'll exchange some information. And people saying these it has been like Fort Knox related to Chapel Hill, and credit to everything that Bill Belichick and his staff are doing, Lombardi and all those guys, because they are treating it like the New England Patriots. So they're keeping things very tight-lipped, very quiet, recruiting people, personnel guys. There's a whole lot of shakeup. It's very quiet in that building. And I think our guys who do the best job covering North Carolina, our team over at Inside Carolina, they are one of one on that beat. They would say the same thing, that it's all been extremely quiet, tight-lipped, but it's been kind of fun because it really shows who's out there grinding, who's out and plugging away. So shout out to Don Callahan and all those guys at Inside Carolina for all the scoop. But I got to say, man, I'm impressed. I like the direction. I like the kind of talent that they're bringing in. I like where their focus is. But I've been kind of equally impressed with how tight-lipped everything's been.
Feels like an NFL front office there, right? So let's set the stage. Bill hired December 12th. That was a week after the early signing period. And this is the first year where pretty much everyone came off the board. We just mentioned in the previous segment, if you look at the top 247, only 2 guys are unsigned. And, Tom, the way I've been kind of thinking about this, I like what North Carolina's been able to do when it comes to adding talent through the high school ranks, because if I was the GM at North Carolina, these are the kids that I would be targeting. And you see some of the notable additions up there. How about quarterback Atori Newkirk, a late bloomer out of Virginia? This is a kid that finished as a 4-star prospect for us. And I remember going back to the summer months, Hudson Standish on the 24/7 Sports Scouting Department, he saw this kid throw in person. He's like, why has no one offered him? Well, Atori Newkirk, he wins his 2nd straight Virginia Class 5A championship. This is a kid that could technically be a class of 2026 recruit. He's gone 30-0 as a starter the past 2 seasons. He's sitting around and waiting for an opportunity. North Carolina comes knocking on the door. He ends up committing. You see some of the other names up there. Kennedy Uzoma, he was originally headed to Minnesota. Tyler Hauser, 3-sport linebacker out of New Jersey. He was originally headed to Wake Forest. Joseph Troop, 2-sport running back. I call him a bowling ball out of South Florida. He was headed to Temple. Jake Bauer, how about this one? He was originally committed and headed to the Naval Academy. Now he's taken his talents to North Carolina. So I just like what they've been able to do. And I think I have an interesting kind of perspective because I'm familiar with these prospects. I know that they are all box checkers in the sense of they have developmental upside. So you mentioned Michael Lombardi, the GM there, treating it like an NFL operation. It seems like they're going out and they're trying to find some of these free agents that could be bargain bin gems. And I think what North Carolina's been able to do, really kind of with their hands tied behind their back, it's impressive to me.
I think one of the biggest wins, and I really do like the long list of guys you're talking about. I mean, Chinadu and Ugaro is an absolute monster off the edge, but I think the biggest win they had was Bryce Baker and keeping him in the fold, because things were absolutely trending in another direction, even though he was committed for such a long time. There wasn't a whole lot of transparency. They weren't very much an open book when it came to the Baker family, when it came to recruiting Bryce Baker down the stretch. But what they did was, when they decided that that was the direction they wanted to go, they went all in. Bill Belichick, the entire staff, made him a priority, showed him a lot of love, and beat out Penn State. I'm trying to think who else was in it down the stretch, Maryland, a few others. But there were some heavy hitters coming. LSU was another one when they lost Bryce Underwood. So they made him a priority, showed him a ton of love, and really, really did a great job of keeping him in the fold, because Bryce Baker's got a shot to be a tremendous, tremendous college football player. He's got the size, he's got the athleticism, ton of talent, he's got the high school production. So a lot to like there, but I think that was one of the biggest wins of just getting that one done and deciding, hey, this is the guy we need. He's the face of our class. Let's not worry too much about the portal right now. We really need a guy that's going to be, the face that we can get behind and wants more than anything to be a Tar Heel, and they got that one done.
You see it up there on the screen. North Carolina sitting 53rd in the rankings right now. I know a lot of people are like, that is not good. There's 60 Power 4 teams out there, but again, just knowing what they're bringing in, I get the vision for them. Tom, I want to get a letter grade for you for Bill Belichick in this first month or so, but I think we also need to talk about the transfer portal, right? That is the other avenue for talent acquisition. And, I've been kind of impressed. North Carolina's held on to a lot of what was already there in Chapel Hill. Yeah, Travis Shaw, big monster interior defensive lineman. He leaves for Texas, but they've done a good job not only of retaining the roster, but then going out and adding some of these individuals. You see a few Washington players on the screen. Miles McVay, former top 247 offensive lineman. He was at Alabama. Ryan Brown, a quarterback from Purdue. That's a kid that has started some games in the Big Ten. I think Coleman Bryson, a lot of people are not familiar with him. I like him as a safety, instinctive kid, better athlete than he gets credit for. Tom, what do you think about these Washington guys? Because those are the headliners. Thaddeus Dixon, Kamori House. We're talking about two, top 150 transfer portal players.
That's exactly where my head went at as soon as we started talking UNC transfer portal. I mean, big shout out to Steve Belichick for doing a great job of getting some quality pieces to essentially join him from Washington. You got cornerback Thaddeus Dixon, who was extremely productive during his time in the Pacific Northwest. You got linebacker Kamori House, who I think has an extremely bright future ahead of him. His best football is still to come. And then safety Peyton Waters coming in from Washington. He's another one where, again, best football is ahead of him. He was really good coming out of high school, a lot to like there. But a guy that I think is being slept on, that I think is going to be a day one impact guy at UNC, a guy, at least that I see, a guy that is starting to fill out physically, is wide receiver Jason Robinson Jr., Washington transfer, a guy, again, very slight. He's lean. But when you look at just pure pass catchers, a guy that fits the frame, the size, the skill, the speed that somebody like Bill Belichick got success with at the NFL level, I think Jason Robinson Jr. is a guy that may be lower on the transfer portal rankings, but a guy who could emerge within year one or year two in Chapel Hill.
All right, time to turn in the report cards. I'm giving Bill Belichick in this first month, 5-6 weeks, I'm giving him a B+, right? And again, I think it's been impressive just what he has done on the high school front. I get it, a lot of 3 stars, but if you have the trained eye, you can see the plan, you can see the vision. The pool of players available was not deep, right? There was limited options that had gone out, found ways to pull some guys with developmental upside away from other schools. So I got a B+ for them. Why isn't it an A? I don't know, maybe find some more 4 stars out there. They got 2 4-star quarterbacks, Bryce Baker, Torrey Newkirk. Outside of that, though, still some room for improvement. What about you, Tom? What do you think?
Yeah, I went with a B, but I was leaning closer to A than C, just to make it very clear. But I didn't go all the way B+. But I like what they're doing. There's probably still some expectations, some additions coming on Wednesday on the official signing day. So look for some positive news still to come, Tar Heels fans. But I like what they're doing. I feel like they're trending in the right direction. And I think come the next portal period, I think even more eyes are going to be on it. I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people next year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see my report card after the next recruiting class, right? Because 2026, the state of North Carolina, I count 5 potential 5 stars on that. Is Bill Belichick going to get one of those kids to stay in state? Hey, Faison Brandon committed to Tennessee, our number 1 ranked player. Bill, you want a quarterback? Maybe your next Tom Brady.